Hey y'all, and welcome to Gemini Outdoors, where today we will begin our discussion on the Theory of Life series, The Illusion of Freedom. We're going to be talking about freedom in this series, and in order to make my point that I believe that a lot of our freedoms have been eroded and that we have an illusion of freedom now instead of what freedom truly is. We have to go back to when we were truly free and not so heavily regulated as we are today. And in order to do that, I'm going to take this series in parts. To start this video, I'm going to read you a letter that I wrote a long time ago when I was thinking up this series, and I just want you to hear me out. It's entitled "A Free People." A free people is one of the most powerful things on planet Earth. People can choose to live their lives any way they wish to. They can choose to live alone or start a family. They can choose to work for someone or start their own business. They can choose to speak their mind or remain silent. They can choose to go to church on Sunday or stay at home. They can choose to own a gun or to not own a gun. Freedom is a truly beautiful thing and a very rare thing. No other country on earth has ever offered as much freedom to its citizens as the United States of America. Our freedom was earned through the blood of patriots and tyrants, a revolutionary idea from our founding fathers who tasted the tyranny of subjugation and oppression from a ruthless monarch and dictator. We threw off the chains of old political bands and chose to pick up our own destiny in our own hands. We passed down that freedom from generation to generation, each facing new and greater challenges than the one before, and learning from each experience. We stand now at a precipice, teetering closer and closer to a progressive subjugation. I close this letter with a simple question: will we remain a free people? So what is a free people? A free people have choices. And with choices, you're going to ask questions such as, what do I want to do with my life? What type of career path do I want to take? Where do I want to work? Do I want to work for someone, or do I want to work for myself? How do I want to live my life? Do I want to be, do I want to be a family man? Do I want to be religious? Do I want to be a gun owner? Do I want to be a business owner? What do I want to do with my life? Where do I want to take my life? And what kind of a direction do I want to take my life? What interests do I want to pursue? What type of hobbies do I want to do? Do I want to play sports? Do I want to be involved in politics, which basically we all are anyway? Do you want to go fishing or hunting, enjoy the outdoors? Do I want to collect cars? Do I want to collect guns? All these different things that and interests that we want to pursue, and all that is being squashed, in my opinion, by overburdened regulations. Talked about all that stuff, and it seems like the federal government, with all that stuff I've talked about, there's a federal regulation involved in it somewhere, or at least a state or local. And I believe that, and especially in this Illusion of Freedom series that I'm talking about, it's those regulations that give us the illusion. Hey, you want to go hunting? That's fine. You can go hunting. You could go hunting anytime you felt like it. But when the federal government decided they didn't want the Native American problem anymore, and they started sending these commercial hunters to wipe out the Native Americans' food source and kill them and take their pelts and go sell their pelts on the open market and whatnot. They didn't have a problem with it then, but now all of a sudden it became our fault. The everyday hunter or everyday fisherman, we were the reason why the wildlife was nearly wiped off the face of North America. We're the problem. No, it was the federal government who did that, not us. Go look it up. It's the truth. It was a part of the war strategy against the Native Americans to wipe them out, get rid of their food, starve them. That's exactly what they did. And then we took the normal outdoorsmen took the hit, and we said, okay, we'll do the licensing and all this other stuff. And what is that? It's a regulation. That's something that's a right that's been taken away from you and made a privilege. And I'm going to get into that later on in the video series as well. Think of freedom like ice cream. What flavor do I like? Do I like vanilla? Do I like chocolate, strawberry, Neapolitan, cookies and cream, Rocky Road? If I like chocolate ice cream, do you have a right to force me to eat strawberry? Anybody would look at that and say, no, you like what you like. And yet the government will come into my life constantly and tell me, you can't like this, you can't do that. If you're going to do that, then you got to pay a tax, you got to pay a penalty, you got to pay a fee. I'm going to cover that in a later video. But you kind of getting my point. Do you have a right to limit me to just chocolate? Well, you like ice cream, that's okay, but we're not going to, you're just going to have to like chocolate. You can't like everything. You can't just decide, oh, I'm gonna like this vanilla and I'm gonna like strawberry and you're gonna like all of it. You can only have chocolate. Does that sound reasonable to you? Just a question. Should I be able to choose any flavor of ice cream I want? I believe I do. I believe I should be able to choose any flavor that I want to out of that wide assortment. But is it freedom if someone comes along and decides, you know what, you can only have the chocolate? So apply this to your life now. Take what I just said about the ice cream and apply it to everything. Okay, you can't have, you can drive a vehicle, but you can only have a Ford. Well, what if you don't like Ford? Well, you can have a garden, but you can only have corn in that garden, and we're going to take half of it. Oh, you like guns, but we're not going to allow you to have anything but a single shot or a muzzle loader. Do you see where I'm going with that? Is that freedom? Freedom is choices. I mean, and if you take choices away, aren't you limiting freedom? I don't believe our founders wanted to limit anything except government. And now, in this day and age, that seems to have flipped. Freedom can be hard to define. It's different things to different people. And the reason because of that is the choices we have. Freedom of choice is not just about reproductive rights for women. Freedom of choice everyone has. Freedom is choices. And if you start to take away those choices, then you start down the road to what we call subjugation and eventually socialism. So what gives us these choices? What gives us these rights? That would be the Declaration of Independence and the Bill of Rights and the Constitution. In the Declaration of Independence, when we declared our independence from Britain and their monarch, our founders wrote this: "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." Some great words if I've ever heard them. In our Bill of Rights, our very first amendment guarantees that we have choices about speech, religion, the press, peaceably assembly, and our right to petition the government. We have choices in all of that. We have a choice by our Third Amendment to not quarter any soldier in our house. And our Fourth Amendment for unreasonable searches and seizures. Excuse me. And they have to have probable cause for it. I mean, I can go down each amendment, eventually down to which one I think is the most important, which is the right to keep and bear arms. Because in order to protect all these choices and rights that we have to be able to defend them if somebody's trying to take them away, such as a tyrannical government, a terrorist, a foreign enemy. And how do you do that if you don't have a weapon? That's why I think the Second Amendment is so important in that debate. So what do you consider a free people to be? Is it a people who have choices abound, just everywhere, choices everywhere? Or would you rather government run your life, tell you what you're going to do every waking moment of your life? You know, telling you where you're going to work, what you're going to do, what your hobbies are going to be, if you have any at all, what you can own, what you can't own. Telling you what church you're going to go to, what you're supposed to believe. The beautiful thing about America is that the government right now can't do that. They're doing it to some extent now because we have allowed these progressive socialist policies to infiltrate our government. And it's our own faults. We elect these people. We have these beliefs. Some of these people, which, you know, I'm a constitutional conservative, but my own sister is a progressive socialist. She believes in progressing the government eventually into socialism, which is where the state makes all the decisions. The state owns everything. You do what the state tells you to do, or there will be consequences. I don't believe that. I don't like the government having anything to do in my life if I don't invite them. I don't want them knowing anything about myself. And that's a question that I think you should ask yourself. Would you like there to be a camera in your bedroom? Because basically that's kind of the question that it all boils down to. Because they're going to want to know, government is going to want to know everything. They're wanting to know that right now. It's insane to me that we are allowing government, who is supposed to serve us, the people, to say, no, we're not servants to you. You have to do what we tell you to. And like I said, I'm going to get into more specific stuff as this video series goes along. In this video, I hope to touch on what a free people used to be and what it looked like. You know, like I said, you know, I can remember when things were different. I can remember when it was a lot easier to start your own business. Now you have to deal with so many taxes, fees, and fines and stuff like that, insurance, all this other stuff that government has forced on us. And a small guy can hardly open a business anymore. I know, I've tried that. I've checked into it myself, thinking about maybe starting my own business, and guess what? It's just too expensive to. It is very difficult. Try it for yourself and see what I'm talking about. Just look into the expenses just to start up. And I'm not even talking about getting loans and stuff to get the stuff you need to start your business. I'm talking about just the taxes and the fees by themselves. I mean, it's something to think about. You know, a free people, what does a free person want to do? That should be left up to them. It shouldn't be dictated to them or them be directed by any type of government. Oh, well, you got to do this. It shouldn't be that way. It should be what that person wants to do in their heart. Remember, it says pursuit of happiness. I mean, I see the direction that this country is taking in this progressive socialist type of direction that they're wanting to do. They're wanting to progress us slowly to socialism. And they can't make us accept socialism right off the bat. They know that there is a lot of Americans out there that's not going to accept that. So they have to progress us. They're going to that. They're going to chip away at our rights, one by one, sometimes multiple ones together. And until those rights no longer exist. Look at the Second Amendment. We're going to take full autos away from you. Now we're talking about taking the semi-autos away from you. Well, now we need to keep these weapons of war off the streets. So guess what? There goes your bolt actions. There goes your pump shotguns. There goes your revolvers. There goes your muzzle loaders. Single shots. All those were developed in war. So pay attention to what they're saying. They're trying to throw you off. Oh, you're thinking AR-15. It's a bad thing. It's a bad thing. They keep making you think it's a bad thing. It's a bad thing. They keep pumping this into you. Every tragedy that they get to exploit, they're going to do it. And they're going to make you think, oh, well, these things are so bad. I don't need to own these. What's that doing? That's taking away your choice. Your freedom of choice. If you don't want to own a gun, don't own a gun. But you're taking up the responsibility of that action, of that decision upon yourself. People should be free to choose what they want to do, what they want to own, what they want to be, who they want to worship. And it's getting to the point to where, to me, it's getting scary that these people on the left, the progressive socialists that I'm talking about, and the globalists who give them basically their talking points, their orders, that this is what we want. We want big government. They've got big government right now. Right now, the government is probably the biggest it has ever been in the United States, and everybody is screaming and squirming, especially business owners, to be like, hey, what are we doing here? And nobody is paying attention. Because what the progressive socialists are getting promised is, okay, when we pass all this stuff, you're going to get your utopia. You're not going to have to work for nothing. We're going to take care of you. You're not going to have to worry about your health care. We're going to take care of you. You're not going to have to worry about your security. We're going to take care of you. And then what's going to happen after that is, after they get what they want, which is the complete control that they seek, all of a sudden, you're that person that George Bernard Shaw talks about. Look him up. I've got some, check out my playlist, my locked playlist, and look at the ones I put in there about George Bernard Shaw. That's what he's talking about. It's called eugenics. That's what they work towards. That's what the Nazis did. That's what the socialists did in Russia, in China. Everywhere there's been a genocide, this is what I'm talking about. This is the guy that kind of come up with this as a progressive. He's a progressive, a self-identified progressive. That's what Hillary Clinton identifies herself as, a modern-day progressive. A progressive socialist. That's exactly what they are. And eventually they're going to say to you, okay, you don't have a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness anymore. The only right you've got is to justify your existence to the globalists. And if you can't justify your existence, then guess what? You're going to get lumped in this undesirable. Well, what do they do with undesirables? Just listen to George Bernard Shaw. You'll figure it out for yourself, I think. They'll get rid of you. But what makes me laugh is that these progressive socialists really think that once the big shots get all the power and they can dictate down to just take a look at what happened in Nazi Germany. If you were undesirable, look what happened to you. They think the progressive socialists thinks they're going to get to keep their food stamps. They think they're going to get to keep their free health care, their Obamacare. Well, I guess Obamacare isn't free, but you know, it's close. They get to keep their free health care. They get to keep, they get to keep their guns. No, it's not going to work that way, folks. I hate to tell you that, and it ain't going to work. And it's going to be scary if the progressive socialists takes us into that dream world that the globalists want to do. So we need to ask ourselves, can we do something about it now? And the answer to that is yes. We can start voting for freedom once again. Deregulate our country. Deregulate the people. Once you get all the regulations and the burden of those regulations off of us, freedom is going to just unleash upon this country, this great country. And it's a wonderful thought. Till next video, we'll see you.